This is the science of deliberate creation. And this Abraham Hicks dialogue was recorded in Tarrytown, New York on the weekend of October the 11th and 12th of 1997.
I have used a number of your ideas for keeping my cork floating, and one of them that I have been using recently is gratitude, and I just find that being grateful, just any little scrap of gratefulness, just changes my whole attitude.
You know that vibration that you feel when you use the word grateful? We use it for the label appreciation, very similar. Yeah. But that is the closest vibration to your core energy of anything in your physical realm.
I believe it, yeah. One thing I need some help on that I haven't been I've been vibrating in my neck, very low energy for about 2 years, and it's kept me with a nice stiff, not very mobile neck. And I haven't figured out a way to raise that vibration in my neck. So, and I tend to, with a lot of things that are in your body that don't feel good, you naturally push against what hurts, you know?
Or even notice it.
And I'd like to stop pushing against what hurts and start just vibrating and get that vibration into my neck so that it'll be different.
When you talk about you have a low vibration in your neck, we would like to give you different terminology for that. We would like you, because this is what's really happening. Somehow or other, I don't know how it happened, I have developed some stiffness in my neck, which now gets my attention. Mm-hmm. And so, as I focus upon this thing that I do not want, I continue to include it in my vibration, mm-hmm. so that what I do want cannot be. In other words, what I want is...
What I want is a comfortable, flexible, easy, loose neck.
All right, now, those words are all very good. And as you say them, actually, we do not feel much resistance in your vibration. But the evidence that you are living is the truest. In other words, it's nice to come to someone who can read vibration and say, how am I doing? And if it is a very wise reader, the reader will say, how are you doing? In other words, your physical experience lets you know how you're doing, because it's an absolute reflection. And so you know that even though you're offering those words that sound very good and actually feel quite good in this moment, that still there must be something that's happening. Otherwise, you would feel looser and freer. Now, so talk a little further about it. In other words, don't try to please us. Just ramble about your physical apparatus, about your physical well-being, about your overall body, about the feeling of flexibility. In other words, just ramble.
Well, I have all these...
In terms of what you want.
In terms of what I want my body to stay young, and I want it to
There it is, right there.
Aha.
In other words, it came out...
Bingo.
In other words, there is... Now, we talked earlier about this stream of thought that is not necessarily beneficial, but is so pervasive that it's easy to become a part of it. Can you imagine, through many, many, many eons of physical beings, how many people have pushed against this process of aging?
Right.
It's a very big, predominant...
pervasive.
And so it's very easy for you, without even realizing that you're doing it, to become a part of that thought process. And every time you do it, you resist it a little bit. In other words, every time you do it...
Because I don't quite believe it.
Even you don't quite believe it, and you certainly don't want to believe it, and it bothers you that so many people do believe it, and you certainly don't want to offer any evidence that supports it.
Right.
But can you feel how in all of that there is some pushing against?
Right.
So what you're wanting to do is just, you see, we want to give you a little piece of something that would give you a sense of relief and a raising of vibration rather quickly, and that is, you don't have to convince anybody of anything. In other words, every now and again, Esther will feel such relief at what she has come to know. And she will feel so free in this knowing, and so allowing as she looks out into the landscape of human experience and realizes that she really understands. And at other times, she will look out into the same landscaping at all the people who don't know what she knows, and it will feel like an awesome, overwhelming
I've experienced that.
She will sometimes hear people who are very much in the know expressing in a public forum and misleading millions. And she will say, stop,
Right.
don't say that anymore, don't. And so there is a sort of feeling of responsibility that somehow the teacher in you has assumed, where you are not just wanting a loose, free-feeling, flexible, agile, young-feeling, life-giving vessel for your own amusement and delight. You want to set an example for others,
I see.
because they don't understand.
Right.
And we say to you,
that's a never-ending battle.
well, you see, it's a little bit of a two-edged sword, and let us help you over this, because you live and teach through the power of your example. You do.
Right.
And we say that, but and because it is absolutely true. We just don't want you to live your life because you are living the example. In other words, we want you to selfishly find your freedom and raise your vibration and let them benefit from your example if they choose to benefit from your example.
Yes.
But you don't have anything to prove to anybody, you
Right.
see. Now, having said all of that, since the weight of the world is no longer on your shoulders, since it's not your job to teach anybody anything, what is it that you want relative to your body? In other words, if they are all out of the picture and their judgment of you, therefore, is meaningless and out of the picture, what is this subject of age or youth anyway? Isn't it irrelevant? Because isn't it only important as you compare yourself? In other words, here I stand as a being perceiving in this moment, connected to core energy, flooding through my vast experience into this physical time-space reality. Isn't that nice and simple and pure and clean? Unless I want to compare my experience or my beauty or my youthfulness with somebody else.
Yeah.
You get a sense?
Yeah,
and as long as
absolutely.
I'm making no comparison with anyone else, then here I am, and my only relationship to the energy is, have I accessed it through my desire? And am I letting it flow through my ease, through my willingness, through my allowing, through my well-being, you see? Chew on this for a little while, and what's going to happen for you over the next few days is lots of circumstances are going to come forth for you, because you have highlighted it here, where you can deal with the way you feel about this business of age. We want so much for you to hear us say it is irrelevant. We would far rather you talked in terms of experience. It's funny how you say, I have vast experience and it feels positive. You say, I have many years and it feels negative.
Right.
Why can't vast experience? And Jerry said to Esther the other day, because they came together late in life, in other words, as they celebrate their 20th wedding anniversary, Esther is a little bitter that it's not their 60th wedding anniversary. In other words, it feels wrong that it took them so long to find each other.
Yeah.
And Jerry softens that by saying, you know, we are together 24 hours a day. We are having more experience together than most people do who were together 80 years or 90 years.
That's right.
Well, isn't he right?
Yeah.
In other words, and isn't that a nice way of... And so these are the kind of games you're wanting to play.
And I have the
yourself.
same experience with my wife, because we're together most of the day, too.
So you're just wanting to find little statements that soothe you when you make them. And that's how you know you're raising your vibration. The feeling of relief. And we're not talking about the feeling of limberness coming and replacing stiffness. We're talking about the emotional feeling of relief.
Yeah, singing. I want my body to sing. That's what I really want.
Well, it is natural for your body to sing.
Yes.
And the more you sing, the more you appreciate, the more you praise, the more you take pride, the more you reach for those vibrations, the more you find yourself in that higher vibration. And your body is so quick to respond to all of that.
Yeah, I noticed.
Now, one last thing I want to give you. If you have a little negative emotion and you don't notice it, don't worry, it will get bigger.
Right. Oh, man.
And in
whatever.
fact, that's what any physical sensation is. It's just a louder acknowledgement. In other words, it's just a greater evidence of resistance. At the first little sign of resistance, you get that kind of uneasy feeling. If you allow yourself to stay in that resistance, it becomes stronger negative emotion, particularly if there is a desire that matters. Now, if the subject of desire was not such an important subject to you, you would not be having, in other words, your belief, your negative belief relative to the subject of physical decline is a very light one. As those beliefs go, we almost do not detect it in your vibration. But your desire for longevity, your desire for well-being, your desire to continue in this fantastic, delicious physical experience that you are now, it even feels like beginning to embark upon. In other words, the stakes are higher here. You've got a stronger desire. So that nitpicking little belief that is almost undetectable is playing a bigger role in your experience. Are you getting the sense of what we're talking about?
Right.
If your energy is moving faster, any resistance is more noticeable. If your energy is moving slowly, then you could have quite a bit of resistance. If your fan is only moving this fast, the pencil hardly matters.
Right.
You get a sense of what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
But if you've got your energy really moving and you get that pencil in there, there's all kinds of discomfort from it. And so that is the primary message that we want to give to you. You have strong desire. And a little nagging belief that will be very easy for you to release. And much easier for you to release if you don't try to convince anybody else about it.
Great. Thank you.
We watch our friend Jerry when those things come in the mail pointing out to him how really old he is. Esther never sees them because he's torn them into little pieces long before they come across her desk, in other words. But in that, there is a little bit of resistance. In other words, he will know that his resistance is gone relative to that when he sees them and they look like any other piece of mail that he has no interest in. In other words, the fact that they still annoy a little bit means you care about the way the world views you. And we want you to reach the place where you don't care what the world thinks at all, because the world view of you has nothing to do with you unless you notice the world view of you. In other words, it is your attention to what they think that affects your vibration, not what they think.
Right, that's right. It's what I think that affects my vibration.
Absolutely. It is what you think that, and so what you're wanting. So you say, well, how do I pull my view away from the world's view? And we say, well, in many cases, you would not want to do that. In other words, there's many things that the world view holds that are very compatible with what you are about. In other words, you don't want to throw it all out. What you want to do is selectively sift. And you can tell by the way you feel when you're on something that benefits you and when you're on something that isn't. And if you could follow the perfectly phrased words that speak in one sentence everything we want you to know, it would all be very simple. And that phrase is follow your bliss.
Right.
And we don't mean follow the candy trail, which is Esther's idea of bliss. We mean follow your bliss relative to the thought that you're thinking. Choose music that pleases you. Choose television programs that please you. Choose dinner partners that please you. Choose conversations that please you. Choose memories that bring bliss. Choose commercials that you watch on television that bring bliss. Choose places that you visit that bring, in other words, we are teaching you to be selfish beyond any degree you have ever imagined. Be so selfish that nothing is more important than that you feel good, until you reach the place that you're unwilling to play any game that lowers your vibration. In other words, if a friend walks up to you and begins to express some negative conversation and you feel a dip in your energy, excuse yourself politely. In other words, don't say, don't you know you're the creator of your own reality? Instead say to them, adieu. And not forever, just for this moment of this conversation. In other words, have you ever visited with someone, and as you're chatting with them, you can tell they're not listening?
I do that myself.
We say, good for them, you see. In other words, if they're not listening, it means this isn't a match.
Right.
And when you see someone not listening, rather than taking hold of them and getting their attention, let them go. And do the same for yourself. We've given you much more than you've asked for, but it all dovetails together, in other words.
Yeah, right. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Indeed.